The tone is broadly absurdist, misanthropic, Kafkaesque, often cruelly hilarious. That's Mark Kermode of Kermode and Mayo's Film Review talking about one of our featured new movies this week, Kinds of Kindness. It's from that director, Yorgos Lanthimos, that Greek bad boy of cinema. Of course, he's made lots of good movies over the years. This is more in line with The Lobster than it is with Poor Things, but I enjoyed it. I'll give you my thoughts on it. Another kids movie, God help me, Despicable Me 4. Somehow we had to trudge to the theater and get through. At least the popcorn was good and the slushy was good, and it was a relief from this heat wave, which is omnipresent here in New Jersey. And we also saw the old movie this week. I cannot wait to discuss First Reformed. It was my homework for Harry. He knocked it out, so we're going to discuss that. And my dear friend, Claire Atkins. Those avid fans of Cinephile know how great Claire is. She makes a return appearance to discuss 5 movies. That's right. Wildcat, the new Ethan Hawke directed film starring his daughter Maya Hawke, is in theaters. Wicked Little Letters, now streaming. British comedy. Jesse Buckley, Olivia Colman. And 3 films from the past. Primal Fear, One Fine Day, both from 1996. Primal Fear, the great Richard Gere, courtroom drama, One Fine Day, Clooney, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Desperately Seeking Susan, which I have not seen, from 1985, starring Madonna. But Claire will sell you on all that with a shout out to Delta, which is where she watched 3 of those 5 movies. As always, thank you for supporting us here in Cinephile. Very important. I want you to go to Apple Podcasts right now, subscribe, rate, and review. Please do give us a review, because especially the old school guard here. I haven't seen as many reviews lately. What I have seen, praise for Harry, which is great, but I just want more reviews. This is, I understand, is important in the algorithm of things. So please, all of you, Susan Emery, Brett Baker, Alpha Hillwan, Dave McPeak, the old school. I know you guys listen to every episode. Go right now to Apple Podcasts. Please subscribe. I know you're already subscribing. Rate and review and give us some love there in Apple Podcasts. They tell me it's important. I need to do a better job of hammering that. So please do that. Hell, Claire, you do that too. I know you were just on the podcast. You're coming up in a second. You go and rank that as well. It's always a pleasure here on the podcast. And thanks to Sam Morrell, who was fantastic last week. It's always good when a guest wants to come on. That means they have something to say. And he's a genuine big movie guy. And I really love talking film noir with him. I'm so happy he was as geeked out as I am about Out of the Past and The Third Man. And there's no better endorsement than a guy who literally says, look at my camera, look at my wall. I have posters here up on my wall. And the fact that he and Harry are old friends is even fantastic. The fact he produced the basketball pod. And of course, you have a new nickname of HDH here for our man Harry. Great to reconnect with Sam. I thought he knocked it to the park. Would you agree?
He's awesome, man. He's one of those guys that just everything sticks in his brain. Like he can go deep on the Knicks. He can go deep on film noir. It makes sense why he's where he's at in his career.
You mentioned the Knicks fandom. By the way, you can watch Sam's special. It's currently available on Amazon Prime. It's hysterical. You'd mentioned to me off air when doing the basketball pod, he was such a Knicks fan. He would say stuff like Julius Randle should be like the MVP. Like he's like a rational Knicks fan.
If you go look at the old, they used to do a Pod Don't Lie episode where they would review their old takes from the year before. And Sam every year would be like, I think the Knicks are going to win the championship this year. Like, and they would win like 38 games.
I love when people are so passionate and then it just doesn't happen to them. I just find that so funny. All right, let's do some reviews. What I really want to do with Harry is First Reform, then we're going to get to Claire. So let me fly through Despicable Me 4. God help me if there's going to be Despicable Me 5. I'm just going to just shoot myself. I'm going to go in the movie there. He's got a gun. He's going to kill a bunch of kids. No, he's just going to kill himself. That's it. Life's over. I can't take it anymore. I don't mean to joke about public shootings. It'll be a public shooting, but it'll just be one person. It's just suicide. That's it. I promise you. If there's a Despicable Me 5, I'm taking myself out. And for those who actually care, it's not just Minions. So there's the Minions movies, of course, yes, and there's the Despicable Me movies. So Despicable Me was the original franchise, so the Minions were such stars to them, they got their own spin-offs. It'd be like if Star Wars, if the Ewoks were so good, the Ewoks got their spin-off. That's what this is all about. I know nobody cares about the plot, but I'll give you a little bit of something, just so you want. In the first Despicable Me movie in 7 years, Gru, the world's favorite supervillain turned anti-villain league agent, returns for exciting, bold. This is nonsense. It's not exciting, nor is it bold. Following the 2022 summer blockbuster phenomenon of Minions: The Rise of Gru, which earned almost $1 billion worldwide. How ridiculous is that? Steve Carell's back. Yeah, he's always good. Kristen Wiig plays Lucy, who's an Oscar nominee. Okay. Miranda Cosgrove, Madison Poland. You got Emmy winner Will Ferrell. And the real surprise is Stephen Colbert. While watching, I'm like, is that Stephen Colbert? I'm like, wow, Stephen Colbert needs the money. But hey, maybe it was a good check. Who cares? I'm not here to judge. Sofia Vergara. Yeah, she plays the femme fatale girl from Valentina. It's not good. It was tough to get to. I'm not going to like it. I like this audience review, actually. This guy wrote, this movie is recklessly idiotic with multiple plot structures that fail to propel the story forward. Instead, the audience finds themselves inundated with slapstick dreck that ultimately amounts to Nothing, as the movie just happens to conclude about as abruptly as it starts and drops plots. It'll amuse little kids who aren't actually waiting for any single plot line to conclude in a way that changes status quo. Despicable Me 4. I'm going to give it one maple leaf. God help me if I have to go watch anything like that again. That's it. Kinds of Kindness. Next up, Yorgos Lanthimos. So here's the first surprise. You go, wow, this is like one of these auteurs, right? Normally his kind of movies come out in the fall. Why are they burying this in the summer? Maybe it's counter programming, maybe. Or maybe they just realized, this one's not as good as some of his other stuff. Poor Things last year won, obviously, multiple Oscars, including for its star Emma Stone. It's the new Scorsese, De Niro for this generation. Lanthimos, Stone. They're going to make every single movie together. That's what it feels like. This is now their third movie together. Of course, they also made The Favorite together. But this is a movie which is definitely bizarre. You know, Poor Things is, and I say this cautionary when I say it's more accessible because that was a black and white film, which was a take on Frankenstein, in which very sexed up Emma Stone is sleeping with Mark Ruffalo and breaking hearts. But that's more accessible than this movie. This movie is truly for guys like me and Harry who really like their independent movies and are willing to take a 2-hour, 44-minute ride. Here's the story. Kinds of Kindness is a triptych fable following a man without choice who tries to take control of his own life. Maybe he had to watch Despicable Me 5. A policeman who is alarmed that his wife, who is missing at sea, has returned and seems a different person, and a woman determined to find a specific someone with a special ability who is destined to become a prodigious spiritual leader. As always, whenever there's a short story, whenever there's, different things categorized as chapters, some are good, some are bad. So of the three, the first two were very enjoyable. The third one wasn't very good at all. So my review is going to be a 2.5 Maple Leaf scale. But I like the cast a lot, particularly Jesse Plemons, who's now very skinny. So screw him. I liked him better when he was fat. Now he's lost like 40 pounds. I don't like this. I like the reverse. I liked when he was fat and happy. Now he looks.
He
like
started skinny. I mean,
yes.
Friday Night Lights, skinny. Then he got big, and now he's back.
Yeah, skinny and big. Now he's skinny Plemons. But yeah, all kidding aside, he does look good. And he's a good actor, man. He's fantastic. He's got 3 different roles, as is Willem Dafoe, who's one of my favorites. He's hilarious in the movie. Excuse me. Emma Stone was fine. I mean, it's tough to compare. Obviously, Poor Things was so vibrant. It was such a great performance. Although, most importantly, there is a scene where she dances with a nod to Poor Things. They do. It's not quite obviously. You're not going to top that dance number, but there is a scene where Emma Stone gives maybe about a 30-second dance solo. So I appreciate it. Hopefully, every single movie she does with Lanthimos, there is a bit of dancing. Margaret Qualley's in the story as well. Hong Chow is very good. But like I said, it's 3 parts. They're all strange, weird, absurd, darkly funny. Like me and Harry funny. Like the average person goes, "Oh my God, this is disturbing," and he and I will be like laughing our heads off, like De Niro and Cape Fear. So if you like that kind of stuff, you like edgy, risky humor. Again, it's much more in line with The Lobster than it is with like Poor Things. And I think The Lobster is a hysterical. Russillo, one of his favorites as well. Colin Farrell and John C. Reilly. It's definitely not gotten the buzz as other movies have gotten. 72% Rotten Tomatoes, 49% audience score. So people are walking out there pissed off. But I'll give it 2.5 for its dark sense of humor, for the fact that it is Kafka-esque, and the fact that Lanthimos is very keen on making movies his way. He's got his own style, his own sensibility. He's not going to change things for anybody. So I enjoyed it. Kinds of Kindness, I would definitely recommend to most people, especially if you have indie taste, so to speak. 2.5 Maple Leafs. All right, we'll get to Claire in just a second. First Reformed. Let's do it. So I saw it the other day on HBO, and I said, I got to watch it again. Harry hadn't seen it, so that was his homework. It's one of my favorite movies of the last decade. I think it's an absolutely brilliant film. It continues my love affair, fascination with the films of Paul Schrader. And after watching the movie, I immediately went to YouTube to see a 20-minute interview that he and Ethan Hawke did at the Angelica Theater in New York. And it was great. Some of the highlights of it was just the story, why even do this? And he said he watched the film Ida, Paweł Pawlikowski, I think, the Polish filmmaker. And he said, I was having a conversation, and then I walked 8 blocks. And I was walking 8 blocks in New York City. I said, you know what? I think the time is now. He wrote a book called Transcendentalism in Cinema, and it's about the films of Robert Bresson, the great French filmmaker, and Yasujiro Ozu, the great Japanese filmmaker. And he said, you can only chase your heroes for so long. And I've got to make a movie like that in honor of those guys, in homage to those. And that's where he started to get the idea of a priest and his soul-shaking encounter, what it all means. Here's a story if you don't know it. The pastor of a small church in upstate New York spirals out of control after a soul-shaking encounter with an unstable environmental activist and his pregnant wife. A lean hour and 50 minutes from Paul Schrader. He said while he was editing it, the editor turned to him and said, hey, there's a lot of taxi driver in this movie, huh? Schrader said, yeah, I didn't necessarily realize that I was writing it, but yeah, lonely, vigilante, out for justice, crusader, by himself, drinking too much. Of course, the famous shot, Scorsese, which was, by the way, an homage to Jean-Luc Godard. He had the famous shot of the Alka-Seltzer, which Travis Bickle puts in his glass. Here, Schrader goes Pepto-Bismol, I believe, in bourbon, or is it Scott? And he zooms into the shot just like the way Marty did, the way Godard did. Great shot. So that's a clear nod to Taxi Driver. Unfortunately, we don't have Harvey Keitel playing a pimp, but there is definitely nods to a lonely man writing in his diary, feeling of violence, angst bubbling up without him. And Ethan Hawke is just magnificent. I love the trailer for it. If you haven't even seen the trailer, go watch a trailer for it. It's one of these great trailers because it'll show snippets of it. Cedric the Entertainer. Hey, even a pastor needs a pastor. And then you have the white on black blurb, and it's like a galvanizing performance by Ethan Hawke, a role he was born to play. I'm like, yeah, Schrader finally makes the film he's been wanting to for years. Paul Schrader was never nominated for an Academy Award for Taxi Driver, which is one of the great scripts ever. He was not nominated for co-writing Raging Bull. He was not nominated for Affliction, which is a great Nick Nolte movie. He was not nominated for Autofocus, which I've introduced Harry to, and hopefully Sam Morril will watch at some point. He was finally nominated for First Reformed. The guy was in his mid 70s, and this was his first Academy Award nomination. Sadly, he did not win, but he was nominated. And he said it was amazing. It was so gratifying to get nominated for all these years. And he goes, listen, we can say what we want about awards and such, but it was nice to be gratified. And I think it's an incredible film. It's a slow burn. It builds up, but I think Hawke is magnificent in it. I think it's very timely. I think it's very provocative in terms of issues of faith. How will God forgive us? How will God judge us? I think it's amazing. And a quick thought on Cedric the Entertainer before I kick it to Harry. He said that role, because, priests in these movies are always kind of the same. It's either like Elmer Gantry, like, they're like, thieving and stuff, or, maybe it's like There Will Be Blood. And it's like, that character of Paul Danos. He's like, I just want because I want like a guy like Steve Harvey. Like, I just want like a good priest and like a good pastor. And he goes, I can't get Steve Harvey. He's too busy. And then somebody goes, why don't you try Cedric the Entertainer? And I called him up and we talked and I said, hey, I don't want you to be funny for the movie. He's like, no, I know. I got read the script. I got it. Like, it's a serious drama and you want like a very conscientious priest. He's like, yeah, I can do that. I think it's one of Schrader's gifts is to kind of, zig and zag. Richard Pryor, of course, was cast in Blue Collar, which is a great drama from 1978. Yaphet Kotto, Harvey Keitel. That was Schrader's directorial debut 2 years after Taxi Driver. So I always like when directors go, you know what? I know he's a comedian. Let me try him in a more serious role. I thought he was really good. And of course, Hawke was amazing. Harry, your thoughts on First Reformed?
Well, on the Cedric thing, really quick, a funny thing I saw was that, he normally goes by a stage name, Cedric the Entertainer. But for this one, in the billing, he's like Cedric Edvis or whatever his last name is. He went, he ditched the Entertainer. It was one of those movies that as I was watching it, I was, it's an intense, it asks a lot of its viewer, like you're really sitting with some serious ideas, and it's I wouldn't say hard to follow, but it's a little bit kind of unclear where Hawke's going. If is it a dream at the end? All this stuff. But I've thought about it a lot since watching it, and so like I think my rating of it has gone up in the 72 hours since I watched it. I agree. I loved the and this gets sort of like into wishy-washy terms, but I did think the kind of transcendentalist filmmaking worked. Like the kind of aspect ratio, the super claustrophobic feel, and it does feel like I was contemplating my own relationship to the environment and to the destruction of the world along with Hawke, which I think is the sort of transcendentalist way. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was it definitely wouldn't be like a like a summer blockbuster film watch, but if you're in a brooding mood, I would definitely recommend it.
Now, brooding is a great word for it because you're right. It asks a lot of its audience. This is not fast paced. This is heavy dialogue, as you said. Even the way it's shot, like I love the way his shot compositions are so beautiful, but it's very static. There's no moving camera. There's no glitz and glamour. It's a very spared down story. And as you said, it's a man confronting his spirituality, environmental decay, and that whole concept. You see, I just started thinking about environmentalism, what's happening, and the interviewer at one point asked him, like, it's a pretty bleak movie, huh? Pretty pessimistic. And Schrader goes, well, I think if you're paying attention to the news, I don't know how else you could feel that way, but we're in real trouble. Pause. And Ethan Hawke grabbed the mic. He's like, have a great Saturday, everybody.
Really funny.
Like, thanks for coming to our movie. And Hawke, by the way, said he wanted to make it because he goes, listen, I adore Paul Schrader. He's a legend of cinema. And he said, I've always been interested in organized religion, and playing a priest was something different. What I thought was so great about him was just he's so repressed, right? Like the way he's just masking all of his frustration, his anger. Then finally, he's getting that moment to burst out. I thought he was extraordinary. He was not nominated for an Oscar, and Schrader said, he was upset about it, and he said he called Ethan and he goes, "Listen, you've already won. People are talking about it. New York Film Critics, Best Actor. LA Film Critics, Best Actor." He said, "People that know movies know this movie, and they know your performance. So yeah, the average guy's gonna know Training Day, or they're gonna know the Before Sunrise movies. But like people who know movies are gonna go, hey man, did you watch Ethan Hawke in First Reformed? Like he was extraordinary, and he's the type of actor who's doing it, art for art's sake. So I think he appreciated that coming from someone like Schrader. The ending, by the way, two schools of thought on it. Schrader said, well, I guess I'm not going to tell you because I made it purposely elliptical and open-ended.
Right.
But one of my thoughts was he is saved by Amanda Seyfried's character, that she sees him and she saves him, and it's salvation. Another thought I had was after he drinks the Drano, he dies. But I had read somewhere that what is heaven like? And he's like, it's like one long wet kiss. So he said I actually like that ending better. I like him dying, and then that's his idea of heaven is one long wet kiss. I thought that was pretty poetic and pretty cool. But again, First Reformed, available on streaming right now on HBO. It's a marvelous movie, and one that, as Harry said, definitely sticks with you and rewards multiple viewings and multiple thoughts all about it. It's time for my good friend Claire Atkins. Take it away, Claire. Let's go up in the air with Claire. All right, up in the air with Claire is back. The great Claire Atkins, my dear friend, is here. First time with Harry here on Cinephile. She makes her return. For those who don't know, Claire and I are old friends from our time at ESPN working on college football and college basketball as well. She's dominating ACC Network. Her film bona fides go back to her USC film education, the fact that, like me, she loves independent cinema. She loves movies that go against the grain. I believe her famous quote was more character, less plot. Regardless, she's here to talk about a variety of things. Ethan Hawke is one of our favorite actors. He's got a new film he directed called Wildcat. She's also went back in the time machine to rewatch Primal Fear, One Fine Day, and Desperately Seeking Susan. And proof of Harry's commitment, after Claire mentioned this, Harry dove into One Fine Day. So cannot wait to talk about George Clooney, Michelle Pfeiffer. Without further ado, Claire, it is great to see you. Welcome back to Cinephile.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Excited to be back.
Your husband, Dan, already peppering me with comments. He texted me earlier today because he just wanted to let me know his thoughts on the summer blockbuster season. And he said, I think Twisters is going to be a huge blockbuster like Top Gun Maverick. Summer of no Marvel movies. Adults want something other than friggin' Minions. So I said, well, I'll get it in with Claire in a second. And he said, oh, yeah, I think Twisters plus Deadpool could be like a Barbenheimer double play, though not as big. I said, that's a bold take. I can't see that happening.
No, I don't see Deadpool doing that. I do see Twisters making hundreds of millions of dollars. And it's because of the Glenn Powell effect, going back to what Stanzik said a couple weeks ago. Yeah. Shout out to his mentioning of Set It Up, which was a delectable rom-com that really launched Glenn Powell's career. So he's a movie star. And Twisters is going to be huge.
Which takes us back to another text Dan sent me yesterday, which is me and Claire tried to watch Hitman, couldn't get through it. Only 45 minutes. You bailed. You're a Linklater fan. I'm stunned by this.
Yeah, I just didn't see where it was going. And he's just too good looking to play the Clark Kent role. Yeah. Just throwing some glasses on him and he's a nerd doesn't work for me. It lost me. And it goes back to watching a movie in theaters versus at home. You check your phone. You get over it. I lost the plot. I said, I'm going to bed.
All right, fair enough. I mean, I liked it a lot. Harry liked it. My friend Scott Smiley hated it. So there's definitely some varying opinions. But I hear what you're saying. At home, there's distractions. And it's a good point about it. He's way too handsome. He needs to do what Charlize Theron did with Monster. Like, he needs to ugly himself so much that he tries to win an Oscar because he's right. Just too handsome. But let's get into it. So Wildcat first. Did you get a chance to see it?
I did. Okay. I have a plethora of little independent theaters in my area, but I do want to shout out the brand new theater in my town of Buchanan, Connecticut, nice. The Playhouse, which is owned by the Cinema Lab Group out of your neck of the woods, Montclair, New Jersey, owned by Patrick Wilson and Luke Parker Bowles.
That's right. Patrick Wilson's a Montclair guy. That's right. Yes.
They bought the theater 2 years ago. They've been working on it. It just opened this week. So the movies are back, baby. Nice. Unfortunately, Wildcat was not playing there, but it is certainly a passion project of our guy, Ethan Hawke. And for those who don't know, it's about the writer, Flannery O'Connor. It's her life, about episodic episodes of her story pieced together with her short stories. And how can I say this? It's a beautiful film. about the Southern Gothic writer, and you learn a lot about her. For those who don't know who she was, she really battled with morality and her Catholicism, and she really kind of gets into the nitty gritty and dirtiness of the South. And she's amazing. And it's a solid performance by Maya Hawke, his daughter. You can clearly tell that they wanted to do this together. Laura Linney plays her mother, and it's a very sweet performance. There's amazing cameos by Liam Neeson and Steve Zahn. It helps to have a name as a director, but it's a bit hard to follow at times. I think when Maya's playing Flannery and she's going through her life, it's very believable. But when it trips into doing the short stories that Flannery wrote, they really play on stereotypes, and it just kind of doesn't work. I think if you enjoy writers, you might enjoy this film. But I read a review that said, you know, this movie was a film made with no audience in mind. And so I just don't know who's going to walk out of it saying, oh, I love that movie. I appreciated it. I enjoyed it because it's my type of film, but I don't think I can recommend it to a larger audience.
For example, Harry, as you've quickly learned here on the podcast, is a genuine cinephile, loves movies. If I said to him, Ethan Hawke is a new movie, and Harry's in. But Harry, if I said to you Wildcat about a Southern writer, Flannery O'Connor, that doesn't sound like a great Friday night for Harry Krinsky.
I don't think so. I was gonna ask. So I do like some movies about writers. Like I really like End of the Tour, the David Foster Wallace kind of like little biopic. Where does it fall on that scale? If that's like a a proper writer biopic.
I think Ethan Hawke was just doing too much. You either stick with the story of the writer and you leave out her writings, or you just go straight for her writings and leave out the writer. And trying to push it all together into one film under 2 hours was just too much. If I'm giving it the Adnan scale, I give it 2 maple leaves. It's beautiful, beautifully shot, well acted, well cast, but it's just not there.
Harry, Claire and I saw Ethan Hawke on stage with our spouses. We saw True West, the great Sam Shepard play. That gets 3 maple leaves. If you have a chance to see Ethan Hawke on stage, that's fantastic. So Wildcat, not great. Let's go back in the time machine. I love that you rewatched Primal Fear, which amazingly, I didn't see when it first came out. I think it's 96, right? I only saw, I'm going to say I saw maybe like 5 years ago. Like I knew it had a lot of buzz around. I knew Edward Norton, but I actually didn't know the plot. So I don't want to spoil it for anybody because I lasted 15, 20 years without knowing what the hell happens. But all I remember about Primal Fear prior to seeing was Matt Damon said that was one of those scripts everybody knew that was going to be big. Whoever got the role, you were going to be a Hollywood star overnight. Edward Norton got it. And he said him and Affleck and all these, Robert Sean Leonard, they all auditioned. He goes, man, Norton's got it. Like this role is so well written that you're going to nail it. And watching the movie, I was like, yeah, I can see why it's such a great part. Richard Gere is really good. The whole cast is good. The great Andre Braugher is fantastic. Gregory Hoblit, the director. What did you think of Primal Fear watching it again? Did it still get you right where that ending the way it did originally?
Well, shout out to Delta, who have all these movies from the 80s and 90s that they've put on. And it's just great because it's all those types of films that you're like, man, I never watched that. This would be a good, like, when am I going to watch it? Let's watch it now. And so I had never seen it.
Oh, there you go.
Yes. But to your point, the star power is unbelievable. It truly is peak Richard Gere time, who somehow has always looked old and yet
handsome,
looked handsome old for 35 years. Right. And it, just like you said, it was a real coming out for Ed Norton. I mean, he plays a twisted character. He was nominated for the Academy Award for it. You get Laura Linney, you get Frances McDormand as a psychologist. I mean, it's truly a who's who. I really enjoyed it. I think you have to suspend your disbelief about who done it and the inward issues in Chicago and the deep-seatedness. But if you're looking for just a courthouse drama, I know Your Honor has just hit Netflix, and so a lot of people are into that right now. I highly recommend it. I mean, it was fun. It was one of the best twist endings I had seen in a long time.
Yeah, you're right. It definitely fits that 90s great courtroom dramas. Obviously, fantastic ending. Harry, your memories of Primal Fear?
I also loved it, and it's funny because the whole thing is the ending, right? This oh my God, Jekyll and Hyde situation. The ending I did like, but I was already sold on the movie before the twist. It was so fun, and the all the kind of courtroom beats are great. It's fast. I really enjoyed it. Thought it held up for like a 90s movie.
Yeah, definitely crisp storytelling. One Fine Day, rom-com. Harry watched it. I want to hear Harry's review first before Claire gets in. Harry, you went to a wedding this weekend. While you were hungover, you watched One Fine Day. A great 90s
I watched
rom-com.
it on my computer, sort of like sprawled in this chair. So, yeah. I did like it. I thought it was I'll start with the good. I thought it was beautiful, kind of uptown New York feeling, impeccably like costumed. Everybody looks really cool and fun in it. I was on an earlier episode, I talked a little shit about child actors.
Yeah.
And some good child acting in this. I gotta say, almost too good, because the Michelle Pfeiffer's
Sammy
kid
is played by Alex D. Linz and Maggie by Mae Whitman. Go ahead.
Michelle Pfeiffer's kid is a demon in this movie. It's like, I thought it was probably maybe 20 minutes too long. It's a lot of like, the kids are crazy, but they're figuring it out and they're falling in love, but then they get mad at each other, whatever. But I liked it. And the only other thing I'll say is, at times it felt like, and I think this is maybe on purpose, Clooney was in a rom-com and Michelle Pfeiffer was in like Uncut Gems for parenting. Like the kid, Michelle Pfeiffer's life, it was like going to give me an aneurysm in the movie. So
the blurb from Rotten Tomatoes with a throwback 1930s vibe. This screwball romantic comedy, perfect for one fine day of folding laundry. Claire, take it away.
One fine day walked so You Got Mail could run.
I agree with that.
And I think the romantic comedy genre has struggled in recent years. I think it's relied on gross humor or couples that don't really have chemistry, and we just truly haven't seen that in a while. And this movie reminded me that you can make a fun rom-com without relying on Glenn Powell getting naked and what's that movie?
Sydney Sweeney, Anyone But You.
Anyone But You. Which
that was a great scene for the record. You texted me. You did love that scene.
I did laugh, but I mean that's really fun. And it's a reminder that George Clooney is at his best in these types of roles. Right. We've seen him as a director of recent years, and that's kind of, we've kind of gotten a little bored there. Although I am going to see him in Good Night and Good Luck on Broadway for sure.
I can't wait. Yes. When is that? We need to go. That's a date. When is that happening? I need to write that down.
It's happening soon, maybe the fall or the spring.
Fall.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
But it's a reminder how great Michelle Pfeiffer is, how much of a babe she is, the adorable Mae Whitman, who ended up having, a nice career and got out of the child acting realm. It's a love letter to New York City. Again, you have to just disband your disbelief of how you actually get around the city. I mean, they're in 17 cabs. They've spent $400 in cabs in one day. But it's just fun and it's interesting. It's PG, and it's truly hard these days to find PG films for adults. And not that I, conservative and need to see all that, but it was really enjoyable. I had not seen it. I have recommended it to people who are looking for the I'm hungover after a wedding on a Sunday type of watch, and it totally fits that bill.
And Desperately Seeking Susan. Go ahead, Harry. You're gonna say.
Well, I just have on the PG thing. There were a ton of innuendos that I was funny, not expecting.
Funny. Cute and funny. Yeah.
There's a little there's a scene in there where Clooney's like, "You've got so many balls in the air," and then Michelle Pfeiffer's like, "Well, you put your balls in my face," and it's like this thing that totally at 11, I'm not picking up on that, but as watching it the other day, I was like, "Oh my god, you can do that in a PG movie."
Both movies 1996.
Yeah, with that kind of dialogue, maybe I'm in on this one fine day. Huh? Desperately Seeking Susan. Madonna, 85. Rosanna Arquette. Critical consensus. Works with its fairy tale depiction of New York and the fun, frothy chemistry generated by its two leads. 85% Rotten Tomatoes. Claire, going way back.
Yes. So another good New York film. It is a reminder of how bizarre the 80s were. It truly is. I wanted to talk about this movie because Madonna's been made fun of a lot, on stage and trying to look younger. And this is a movie that reminds you how cool Madonna is and was, and how good of an actress she was, from League of Their Own and beyond. It's a fun movie. I mean, I think it's a little too kooky. It also relies a lot on um, sexist jokes that I don't think have really aged well. Not that I'm trying to cancel anybody, but it loses me at times. But if you are a Madonna fan or kind of forgot that she's an actress, this is a really fun one. Rosanna Arquette's great. Again, if you're on a Delta flight coming up, this one's there for you. So, click on it. Again, it's under the under 2 hour category.
Yeah.
So I would say I would go my rankings of my three Delta films from the 80s and 90s. I would go Primal Fear, One Fine Day, and then Desperately Seeking Susan. But if you're on an international flight, you can hit all three.
It's fantastic. Delta right now getting a lot more love than I think they were expecting coming into today. That segues to the fact Claire is now a mom since the last time she's been on this podcast. Shout out to Hattie, the lovely, beautiful Hattie. We always see great pictures on IG. And I love the fact you and Dan have not seemed to slow down your lifestyle whatsoever. In fact, you guys have accelerated it. We'll go to the Grand Canyon with Hattie. We have a baby Bjorn. She's fine. She sleeps. If she's a good sleeper and a good eater, we can get this done. I'm curious on a cinematic way. What movies? I mean, again, she's one, but what do we watch? What's Hattie watching right now?
Oh my gosh. I mean,
Bluey.
One of the reasons you have kids, yes, one of the reasons you have kids is because you want to show them the movies that you grew up loving. Unfortunately, every time we've put on like a Disney film, it hasn't really registered yet. Yes, the Bluey theme song is big in this house. Yeah. A little bit of Elmo. We've tried some Daniel Tiger. We've tried some Moana music videos. We're getting it's a slow rollout. But I think we're gonna make sure that she gets she sees it all and she really takes it in.
But I love that. Like, I can't wait to make the jump from Daniel Tiger to Daniel Plainview. Like the day that she gets to watch There Will Be Blood with her parents, it's going to be a great day.
Yeah. This is such an interesting summer movie season. Do you think it's pretty disappointing?
Yeah.
I just feel like there's just not much out there. And I see you see what you're reviewing. A lot of kids films.
Yeah.
I mean, Inside Out 2 was sweet. Maya Hawke again.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I mean, I'm not going to go see Despicable Me 4.
No, nor should you. And it's like, even as you said, normally the tentpole movies, you get a couple of big, like, okay, Deadpool, Wolverine. Okay, July 26th. Twisters, like you said, maybe it's a fun watch. August, I don't think there's anything in August worth watching. And normally, as you said, in the past, we'd find our indie movies we could squeeze in, which I did want to ask you, did you watch Thelma yet? You're the only person I know who loves June Squibb as much as me.
So no, I haven't seen it yet. My in-laws saw it and I thought that they would love it. And they said they cried the entire movie. They thought it was going to be delectable and sweet and uplifting, and they found it depressing and sad. Maybe it's just their stage of life. Did you see Thelma?
I know. I that's next on my list. I'm going to try to squeeze in. I'm going to the All-Star game next week. If I can find an independent theater in Dallas, I'm going to be going to watch Thelma. I'm here to watch 87-year-old June Squibb, please. The ticket for one. Because I'm with you. I think the reviews look good. It looks like one of those movies that we would appreciate. It's a really sweet movie, and she finally gets a leading woman role, nominated for an Oscar, of course, for Nebraska.
It's definitely on my list. Tomorrow, I am actually going to go see Maxine.
Yes.
Which is the third movie in the X trilogy, of course, directed by and produced by T. West, starring Mia Goth, who has a good piece in the New York Times this week about her, which is interesting because she says she wants to break out of the horror genre and do more, but yet she's just known as this horror star. But yeah, it's a really interesting trilogy. I've enjoyed it. It's clearly gotten enough buzz that people want to be in it. In this next film, this third one, you have Elizabeth Debicki, Michelle Monaghan, Bobby Cannavale, Kevin Bacon.
Nice.
So I'm excited. I think it's going to be a fun, mid-July, 98 degrees, too humid to be outside watch.
Yeah, this heat wave is it's no joke right now. Claire's from Nashville, by the way, so she knows heat, but she knows this is oppressive right now. Before we close, I mentioned this to Harry out there. I said one of the old teammates of me and Claire, and of course, still a teammate for Claire, Joe Tess, making news today.
I was gonna mention that to you because is there anyone better made for WWE than Joe Tess?
I cannot wait. I mean, I was so excited. Somebody sent it to me. Like, are you going to be kidding me? And I immediately texted Joe and I said, you're going to be great. I can't wait. He said, thanks, brother. I appreciate it. So I look forward to catching up with Tess all about. Listen, Nick Khan's his guy. They're thick as thieves. They go way back, best of friends. And you're right. Tess is called boxing. He's called all these like combat sports. He genuinely loves wrestling. I think it's going to be a home run. I cannot wait. Like I'm going to be like texting him his favorite calls and stuff. Like, and in fact, of course, he's staying with you guys. So he'll be doing whatever major game for ABC. And then Friday night, he's doing SmackDown.
If McAfee can do it, then
yes,
sure, Tess can.
Yeah. The rules have been broken, but I mean, Texas is back, folks, and so is the Undertaker. I cannot wait to have Joe Tess in the booth. WWE. Anything else? Whatever you got. Go Galway stories for me, Jesse Palmer. What do you have for me?
I mean, it's a slow season. We're ramping up. I do have one more movie recommendation because I can't come on this podcast without talking about small British films. Wicked Little Letters. Starring Jessie Buckley and Olivia Colman. Okay. If you're a Downton fan, if you're a PBS PBS Masterpiece fan like myself, go watch this little cute movie. It's great. It's it's an hour 45. Two women, 1930s in their little British village. A scandal happens. It's delectable.
Available for streaming now. I know it was in theaters recently. Is it streaming yet, or it's only in theaters?
Oh yeah. Okay. It's not in theaters. It's like a $3.99 purchase that maybe you can get for 99 cents on Amazon Prime, that type of deal.
Okay, fantastic. Make sure you follow Claire on Instagram, Claire_E_Atkins. Also available on X, although I don't think you're tweeting as much these days.
No, I mean, who is?
I think you're right. The entire thing is, the other day I was thinking, I'm like, I haven't tweeted any reviews in a while. I go, nor should I. Like, I don't think anyone's on X anymore. Nobody gives a crap. So
the algorithm is just trending tweets and stupid memes. Thank you, Elon.
It's all garbage. Last thought. How great has Harry been? As a dedicated listener to Cinephile, I mean, has Harry been a step up or what?
Yes. Huge step up. No offense to previous producers. Appreciate that you actually enjoy film. You're watching movies. And you have a little bit of a twisted taste. And I like that because not everybody can, will sit down and watch those types of movies. So I appreciate it. And your listeners appreciate it.
I appreciate it. I was telling this story the other day about, I didn't know that part of producing the show would be talking. So I get on with Adnan like 8 minutes before the first episode. And he's like, yeah, this is how we record. And like, I'll kick to you. And I was like, kick to me? No, it's been fun.
Check an ensemble movie. Harry's become the breakout star here. He's the best supporting actor right now in Cinephile. It's been great. Thanks to Sam Morrell, by the way, on recent episodes, who gave Harry the nickname HDH. Not sure if you heard that yet, Claire, what HDH stands for, but maybe it would fit in with One Fine Day and that salty humor of the 90s. Claire Atkins, once again, her review of Wildcat, which I will now skip. I was excited to see it, but she gave it 2 Maple Leafs, so we'll wait for streaming on that one. She really loves Primal Fear, One Fine Day, Desperately Seeking Susan, Good 80s movies. She's going to go see Maxine and Wicked Little Letters, which I did hear about, and you're right. If you love that British style of comedy, and who doesn't? I mean, you are, I think, the patron saint of Olivia Colman. I feel like you're the first one who told me she's fantastic, and she's been great, and she's vindicated all those who love her, and Jessie Buckley as well. This was great, Claire. Thank you. Good to see you again, and good night and good luck. Keep me posted. Seriously, that's a good double date. Clooney on stage. I'm in. Let's do it.
We'll do. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks so much to Claire. She was awesome as always. Make sure you follow her on Instagram and Twitter. And of course, she does an outstanding job producing there at ACC Network. Thanks to Harry as always. Please go to Apple Podcasts where you can subscribe, rate, and review. Next week, I don't know what we're doing. I'm going to be on the road at the All-Star game. Harry's got a trip as well, so we'll squeeze in something. Let's see what's playing at the theater. A Quiet Place Day 1. Okay, maybe. Maxine, Claire was talking about saying maybe that. Definitely not Bad Boys. You know what? I just realized now I didn't even review Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F. So guess what? That's what we're doing next week. We didn't want to go too long. There you go. Perfect. Next week. It's currently on Netflix. I'm sure most of you have seen it. I'll give you another week to see it. That'll be our featured review. Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F. will be here on Cinephile, as well as a special guest. Fingers crossed. Big-time sportscaster. If we can get him, oh my God, I'd be thrilled. An assist, hopefully, to Adam Amin if that can come through. As always, thank you for supporting us here in Cinephile. Coming soon to YouTube, and I'll see you at the movies.